Okay.
Clearly he's going to die, right?
Getting
He's gotta
surrounded.
die.
Not looking. Wait, what's that in the sky?
Oh! Is this his?
Dragonfire? Is this
the
bloodworm?
Caraxes? Oh, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
it's a new dragon!
That's no bloodworm. Oh, Laenor coming through.
Oh, he's got the moves. He can fly. He can fly.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Roasty toasty.
Did they not expect a second dragon?
You always got to expect a second dragon.
Oh, I want to talk about this more later.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Beautiful work. Beautiful work.
Smart.
Dracarys indeed. Dracarys indeed. Oh, he likes it.
Shoulder.
He likes the moves.
It's like, yeah. where's that deformed weirdo?
Give me the weirdo. I want the weirdo. Welcome back to New Rockstars. The crab feeder is now crab food. Rhaenyra has a new baby brother with another brother or sister on the way. And a new dragon rider has entered the chat.
Yes.
This is Big Question Presents Talking Dragons, our weekly fantasy after show.
Look at that graphic.
Oh my gosh, it's so good, so fiery. I'm Brandon Barrick, and with me today, we got a special guest on the show. It's Zach Huddleston.
Yes, I came to engage you in a dwarven endurance test.
Oh, okay.
And that dwarven endurance test is doing an episode of Talking Dragons.
That's
Okay.
right. We're either going to finish the episode or give up. I don't know what's going to happen. As always here on Talking Dragons, we're keeping things future spoiler-free as possible in regards to the events of the book, okay? We can talk about things that happened in the past. We can talk about things that happened on Game of Thrones. But anything that's going to happen in the book, we won't try and spoil
And we're
that.
trying to keep it TV show canon.
Yes.
So if there are differences between the books, we will be ignoring the book differences
yes.
and trying to focus on the show. Also, for the first time on Talking Dragons, we will be mentioning Rings of Power.
Rings of Power
Okay,
is
it's
here
out.
now.
It cost a lot of money, and we're going to talk about it.
Yes. Your Amazon Prime orders have funded this show. It is here. We're going to talk about
This
it.
show is the reason those warehouse workers can't get health insurance.
The Alexa is listening to us as we say these things. But let's kick off Talking Dragons by discussing episode 3 of House of the Dragon, titled Second of His Name. Oh, it's been 3 whole years that have gone by since the last time we looked in on Westeros. Viserys and Alicent are married, and their union has already produced a son. Oh, problem solved. And it's little Aegon's second name day. That's what they call a birthday in Westeros. The war against the Triarchy wages on in the Stepstones. But who wants to hear about that right now? We've got a lot of feasting to do.
Yes, it was a good food episode.
Oh,
and
good
a couple,
food
or maybe a
episode.
bad food episode, depending on your opinions. But in honor of little Aegon's second name day, by the way, I did like, there's a little variation in the show, but for the most part, they're calling him Aegon.
Yeah.
As in, egg on your face, big disgrace, seven that fool up. Okay. In honor of that second name day, they're holding a royal hunt. Now, royal hunts in the history of Game of Thrones,
yeah.
not always a good thing for kings,
No.
and I think this one does not necessarily end well for the king. Robert Baratheon basically died as a result of his big royal hunt, but they're bringing in bannermen from all across the land, including some potential partners for the still unbetrothed Rhaenyra. Otter's older brother, Lord Hobart Hightower, is here. And boy, he is just straight up calling second of his name. Okay,
in front
basically,
of the king. In front of the current king.
you only become the second of your name once you are king.
Yeah.
So it's basically saying like, hey, this little kid's gonna be the king someday. He's also leaning into his brother Otto to push Viserys, right, to announce Aegon as his heir. Lots of people getting pulled in multiple directions by a lot of whisperers in their ear, for sure.
It's true. Rhaenyra is still clearly miffed about the union of her best friend and her father, but is also rightfully concerned about her supposed role as heir. As you pointed out, it's clear that many of the lords are eager to move little Aegon into the role of Prince of Dragonstone and eventually take the throne, because they want to see the men stay in power, because it's pretty good if you're a lord in Westeros.
Yeah, especially a first son.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the second son.
Not the second sons.
And of course, Rhaenyra and her relationship with Alicent is icy. The last we saw of them, she's kind of given her the death stare after realizing she's been macking on her dad and is moving in to become her new stepmom. Also, Alicent has been super busy. She's pregnant. She's already got one kid.
Right.
Not a lot of progress from Rhaenyra in the last 3 years.
No.
She's still kind of hanging out under the tree.
She's reading her books. She's
reading
listening to
books.
music.
We can assume she did some dragon training in the interim, but she's not finding lovers.
No,
okay,
not interested.
She's not politicking to gain
Not
power
interested.
or sway. She's probably been moping.
Yeah.
It's been a very hot topic 3 years for Rhaenyra, I think. Been very emo. Alicent's still trying to mend fences, still wants to be friends, still wants to be good stepmother. And she's also she's getting pushed by her father, Otto, of course, to be politicking on behalf of her son. Viserys is torn, right? She's still kind of like that therapist.
Yeah, she's helping him with his trauma, with what happened with his first wife, and the fact that his body parts are falling off.
We're gonna talk about that. Hey, fitting that episode 3, and that's the same number of fingers that Viserys has on one hand. Okay, while Alicent is keeping a low profile. Right? She is starting to play the game. She's clearly learned the lessons from her father, who is a master kind of game player, politicker, Littlefinger adjace. She convinces Rhaenyra to come along on the hunt, despite her being very mopey and emo and not wanting to go. She kind of talks Viserys into helping Daemon, right, at the end of the episode, into finally sending support to Daemon in Corlys's war against the Crab Feeder. So she, in her own kind of subtle way, she's pulling some strings.
Yeah. She's not as forceful as other ones. She's very good at kind of getting her way with just little looks and little nods and little conversations. So we're at the royal hunt, and there's news of a fabled white hart, which is like a big white deer, which would be a powerful royal omen on Aegon's B-Day. But the other big news is who Rhaenyra might be married to eventually. Jason Lannister, ever heard of that name? He shoots his shot, and he misses, but he has the king's blessing, but she's not into it, clearly. The honey wine doesn't taste so great. Lord Lionel Strong suggests the sea snake's son, Laenor Velaryon, as a potential match. And Otto Hightower goes for the wild card suggestion to marry off Rhaenyra to Aegon, her little brother.
And gets laughed in his
at.
face.
He gets laughed at for the suggestion. I mean, this is not out of the realm of Targaryens to marry their siblings, but this is something that the church does not like. And they're never for this kind of behavior because it goes against what the royal church has to say.
Both the incesty and the wild age difference, not out of keeping with general Game of Thrones, but specifically with Targaryen heritage there. Yeah.
Right.
Viserys gets real schnookered, real wasted at his party.
Hey, it's his party. He can drink if he wants to.
I mean, we were talking about the chalice on this man.
Good
okay,
cups on this episode.
He is the Lord of the Seven Kingdoms. Okay, so of course he's going to have a good cup, but he's pounding that Dornish wine or wherever that wine's from. And we were talking a little bit about this is. I think Viserys is an ineffectual leader, right? He's not a man of action. He's kind of gets torn. He's back and forth. But it's clear it's he's weighed down by the burden of being a ruler.
Yeah.
I don't think he was necessarily built for this, right? He's not a hyper-confident guy, probably in good ways a lot of the time because he's not rushing his kingdom into battle and war a lot, right? He's hesitant. He's reigning over peace and he wants to maintain that peace if at all possible. But also it's clearly eating him from the inside or physically from the outside with his maladies, right? And he's clearly mentally starting to deteriorate.
Right.
We even pointed out, it looks like they gave him a different wig this episode.
His hairline's a little further back.
And there's a little less volume in that Targaryen white mane.
He's getting older and he's clearly falling apart.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who it wasn't like he was prepped to be king from birth. Because his father was fourth of Jaehaerys' kids. So he was not in the line right from the jump. It was very later on in his life that it was oh, you might get to be king. And that kind of, he doesn't want to be king. He doesn't want to go to war. He doesn't want to have these fights. He just wants to work on his model in his room. Leave him alone.
Yes. And he clearly that was never more apparent than during that drunken scene and during his conflicts with Rhaenyra, where I love, he has this line, right? Even I am not above the customs of the land or whatever, right? Which is basically him saying, hey, I was forced to have to do all this.
I'm the king and I have to do this.
Yeah, and you're going to be forced to do it. He wasn't happy to do all of this politicking and marrying for advantage and stuff like that.
I'm sick of all this politicking!
That's a good take.
Thank you.
And so he also has this great speech in front of this big bonfire at the hunt, where he's telling Alicent that he's a dreamer, not a dragon rider.
Big deal.
Right? Which is a big deal, especially for Targaryens. We're known, it's House of the Dragons, the name of this show. And when you straight up call yourself not a dragon rider, I don't think that bodes well for your future on this show, my man. But he's a dreamer, which throughout Game of Thrones, we've seen a lot of, especially Targaryens, right? Dreaming, having visions of their destiny, the prince who was promised.
Daenerys the Dreamer was a very important Targaryen because she was the one that was like, yo, we got to get out of Valyria because it's going to go bad. And she basically saved the Targaryen line by getting them out of there. So being a dreamer, while being a dragon rider is a big deal and it's part of being a Targaryen, if you are a good dreamer and your dreams are true and they're right and your visions are correct, they can save them. And like Viserys, he very much believes the Song of Ice and Fire. He's very paranoid about that. He's always got his dagger in every scene. You see it, it's there. He's ready for this winter to come. So I think him saying like, hey, I'm a dreamer. It's him saying, maybe I'm not a great king, I'm not a dragon rider, but my dreams are important, and we need to make sure that they're correct.
Well, and we know that dagger from the preview for next episode is going to have an important role in the next episode of this series. And like you pointed out in that speech, right, as he's talking about this dream he had of seeing his son on the Iron Throne, right, there's this moment of uncertainty where he's like, I'm not sure. And is he not sure if it's a son on the Iron Throne? Is he not sure if it's even his progeny that's on the Iron Throne, right? Like there's a lot of ambiguity. These dreams, as we saw like throughout Game of Thrones, right? Azor Ahai and Prince who was promised and like, oh, it could have been him. And like, oh, actually, no, it was Stannis was wrong the whole time. He shouldn't have killed his daughter. All this crazy stuff, right? The vision can be real, but your interpretation of the vision is not necessarily accurate. And it feels like that's where he's being torn.
Yeah.
He's not sure what to believe.
So he's waiting around for them to catch this like white stag because unlike Baratheon, who goes out and does all the hunting himself and it winds up getting him killed, Viserys sits back and lets them corner the stag, and he'll show up when it's time to do the stabbing. They do corner the stag, but it's not the fabled white one that we'd heard so much about. And so again, if you look at like visions and dreams and what they mean, like him seeing this brown stag, does it mean that his son, because it is his son's birthday, he shouldn't be the king? Like he's not destined to be the king. Is that what this means? He almost seems kind of relieved to see that it's not a white stag and it's just a brown one. And he's like, he's also pretty hungover, so I don't know how he's feeling that day.
Thought your boy was a white hart. Turned out it was a brown stag.
Turns out it was a brown stag. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra, she dips out from most of the party and hangs out in the woods with Sir Criston Cole.
Hello.
Oh, this guy is a troublemaker. They get attacked by a boar and play a little boar on the floor. But Cole manages to stab it, and then Rhaenyra straight up murders that boar.
Oh.
She goes hardcore on it. Drenched in blood, Rhaenyra heads back to camp and comes across the White Hart on their way, but she decides to let it be. So she sees the White Hart. Is this part of a prophecy? Is she destined to take the throne? But she doesn't go after it. And does that mean she doesn't want the throne anymore? Is that her saying, like, I'm not interested in the throne?
Or did she get what she needed? Just by seeing it, that's the omen that she needs.
Like, she shows that she's willing to kill. She'll kill the boar, but only when she needs to, right? She's not going to go out of her way to kill this, like, White Hart.
Also, is it a metaphor? She's actually not willing to do whatever it takes to secure her lineage. She's not willing to marry in a certain way that would guarantee she gets the throne, right? She could have. Now, also, I just want to real quick question the practicality. There's this giant white deer-like creature, right? Maybe 50 yards away from them. Sir Criston Cole pulls out a sword.
Right.
My dude, are you going to throw that sword at that thing? How are you going to? You're on foot.
He's pretty fast.
Get out of here.
I saw him at the Combines.
Did
you see him at the... they cut it out of the episode. At the Kingsguard Combines, this guy, his 40 was insane.
In armor?
Yeah, in armor.
Damn,
in full armor. You got to run in the armor. I think, that stag could have also charged. You got to be ready to defend.
That's true.
He's with the heir. He's got to be ready.
Maybe there's a certain stag. What would a stag call sound like to attract a stag?
If you want to attract the White Hart, you got to give it a little. That's a White Hart call.
Damn, dude, I just got hard.
White Hart. So after the hunt is all said and done, Rhaenyra and Viserys have it out again. They have a little tiff. And Viserys appears to be willing to let Rhaenyra choose who she wants to wed, even though she does not seem keen on getting married and pumping out babies. he says, you can get married for love, because he reveals that he actually really loved Emma and was like very happy to marry her. And it's clear that he does feel bad about killing her. He does feel a lot of remorse for that.
And just her dying in general.
Yeah.
Well, and he's basically saying, hey, you can have both.
Yeah, you
right?
can be in love.
There's a dozen
Right.
dudes out here that want to marry
Right.
you. You must have some connection with at least one of them. I found mine. At least try to find yours. Don't be pushing back just against the concept of marrying.
Exactly.
Right?
And most important in this conversation, he assures her that he's not trying to remove her as heir.
Yeah.
This is yet again him saying, like, look, I chose you and you're going to do it. I don't know if this hunt has kind of showed him with his visions and not seeing the white heart, if you're like, yeah, maybe I should let my daughter keep this for now.
He's torn throughout the episode, right?
Yeah.
Anybody that questions him having Rhaenyra as his heir, he pushes back immediately.
Right.
The
He
Lannister guy,
yeah.
the Hightowers, right? He's not publicly second-guessing himself, though we know internally he is a little torn,
Yeah.
right?
That's his own little mini rebellion. It's like everyone on his council and Otto Hightower, they're all like, you have to do these things as king. Like, you have to get married again, right?
Yeah.
And here's who you should marry. And his response to that is like, I'll get married again, but I'm marrying Alicent, the one that most of you told me not to marry.
Yeah.
Or didn't suggest for me to marry. So it's like, he's willing to do the things, but he's going to have his own little rebellion inside. So like, yes, you have to name an heir, but I'm going to name my daughter, even though you all hate that idea.
Well, also maybe speaks to maybe not the best decision maker.
yeah, maybe
Variety-
not a great king.
for the family.
They're not all winners. They're not all
That's
winners.
right. Hey, now, finally, where we end the episode, we head to the Stepstones, where the Triarchy has really figured out a nice counterpunch to dragons, and that's caves.
Caves, baby.
Who knew that the Achilles heel of giant fire-breathing dragons is just to chill out in caves?
Well, is this the Vietnam of Westeros?
That's right. That's
they're
right.
dug into the tunnels. They can't get him out, and they're just like, you know what? It's a tie.
Yeah, I mean, literally, because, right, like, you could drop napalm all day,
Yeah.
but hey, man, we're in foxholes, okay?
Yeah.
And so, right, we're at this breaking point. The Velaryon forces are mutinying.
They're
right?
almost out of ships.
They're almost out of ships. They're not going to get reinforcements in time. The two, Corlys and his brother, are at each other,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With
The
his,
Lord of Complaints.
Ayo.
Ever heard of him? Got him.
Got him. And just when things are at their breaking point, Daemon rides in. At the same time that a messenger from the king shows up, he's like, hey, the king says, I'm going to help. Now, normally, what's that phrase? What do you not want to do to the messenger?
You don't want to kill the messenger.
Or yeah, it's
Or at
usually,
least not beat him with your helmet.
well, and we don't know. We didn't check the vitals on that messenger. We assume he survives. He limps back to King's Landing.
I bet the whole time they were heading to the Stepstones, he's like, the king gave me the message, guys. I'm giving it to Daemon, all right? I'm the big dog here. I get the nice cot as we're traveling to the Stepstones. He's walking up, this is my big moment. I'm giving the letter. I bet this is a good letter. He's going to be so happy to get it.
Oh, my God. Of all the helmets to get beaten with, that is not a nice helmet to get beaten with,
He
dude.
doesn't have a nice, smooth helmet. He was avoiding the feather side, too, because he doesn't want to get the feather on.
There were some protrusions there. So he pisses him off. I want to point out, right, we were talking about this before, neither Daemon nor the crab feeder speak a single line of dialogue in this entire episode. We
never got to hear the crab feeder speak, ever.
No, had a French accent, I'm only going to assume. But we get that great long close-up shot of Daemon as he processes this news, right? He's furious at his brother. He wanted this. Now, you and I are on different pages here.
Right.
I think he wanted to come up here. He thought this was Iraq War 2001. He was going to sweep in, get a quick W, get a quick win to prove to the entire kingdom, hey, I deserve to be king. I'm a man of action. I can win this. It's been 3 long years.
Yeah.
They can't win, and in fact, it seems like they're losing. And so he's already on the brink, and then now he has to get saved by his ineffectual brother, right? That snaps him, so he beats the messenger, and they formulate this new plan. Now, you think it's slightly different what leads into the Daemon's motivations that lead into the next scene.
I think he was kind of slow playing the whole thing. I think Daemon was fine to have this kind of long, drawn-out battle where he gets to fly around, he gets to kill some people every day. Yeah, he's probably frustrated that he's not winning, but he's also, much like him stealing the dragon egg and saying, like, I'm getting married tomorrow, he wants his brother's attention. He wants his brother to show up and come down there and say, like, just be aware of what he's doing and, like, face him come face to face with him. And then he gets a letter from his brother saying like, hey, I'm sending some ships and I'm praying for you and I hope you don't die. He's like, screw this. I'm tired of this. And like, I think it is a little bit of a suicide mission. Like maybe he's willing to die. He also knows he's not going to die. He's Daemon Targaryen. He's not afraid of death.
It's episode 3.
Yeah. So he's willing to go on this like suicide mission on Bloodstone. And
He's
draw
the human bait,
yeah.
as they say, right?
He's like, he wants to get this done before the ships show up because he's like, if Viserys isn't coming, then this is over and I'm going to end it.
Yeah, because I don't want this to be a Viserys win.
Right.
I want this to be a Daemon win.
Right.
So we've got to go now. And he's humbled by this consistent losses of 3 years, so he's got to get off the dragon.
Yeah.
This is not Daemon and Caraxes. This is just Daemon down there on the beach.
They say he's the only one that is like bold enough to go down there and do this.
Yeah.
And I think the only one that they're willing to give up their safety for. Because
Yeah.
I think in their mind, like the crab feeder is like, well, if we can get Daemon, that takes a dragon rider off the field. And like he's our biggest problem right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm willing to risk a few hundred of my men to get him.
They will be suckered in to go fight him. Also, I do love, still very Targaryen, that like waving a false white flag.
I mean, that's,
right?
you know, I mean, you can argue about the rules of war because I don't think the crab feeder is following the rules of war.
No, I don't think the Geneva
prison.
Convention does not cover feeding your enemies to crustaceans.
Right.
I don't think, but it should. It should.
Add it in.
Yeah, and so we get this awesome sequence where he's going, as you say, Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, Leroy Jenkins,
on
baby.
the crab feeder's army, just slicing and dicing one man, right, dodging arrows. Got a little plot armor, but he takes a couple. He takes a couple hits. Okay, and just when he's surrounded, we were reacting to the scene at the beginning of this episode. Yeah. Boom, we get some dragon fire, and that's not Caraxes.
No,
that is
Seasmoke, baby.
Seasmoke, and that is Laenor Velaryon riding him. Now we knew the Velaryons right there from a similar lineage to the Targaryens, so we knew they were also a dragon rider family.
Well, they're not. The Velaryons are not dragon riders, but because Corlys married,
he's half Targaryen.
Laenor's half Targaryen, so he's got that dragon rider blood inside of him.
Great. Yeah, thank you for clearing that up. And so he swoops in. We didn't know, right? This is also, we were mentioning before, this is an actor time jump. The last we saw Laenor, he was played by a much younger, tinier actor.
He was at the tournament.
Yes.
Celebrating the not quite birth of another future king.
And with his tiny sister, who his parents were trying to marry off to a grown-ass man. But clearly the last 3 years have included puberty and some dragon training for Laenor, because he comes through in the clutch. He zaps those crab feeder archers, allowing the Velaryon forces to swoop in, defeat the crab feeder.
And he's having a good old time. He's basically like, now this is dragon riding.
Woo!
Woo!
The crab feeder, half the man he used to be. You know what I mean?
Pour one out for the crab feeder. We hardly knew ye.
That actor does not get residuals because he didn't speak any lines.
I loved his choice of like, he kind of moves like a crab. His little like ticks.
Yes.
I love that.
Also, I mean,
and he knew something was up. He was watching the skies constantly. Because, they mentioned earlier in the episode, like, oh, we're using our dragons. They kind of teased that there were multiple dragons involved in this whole scenario, but we didn't know this. But he knew something was up. He was always on the watch, but in the end,
I wonder if there's something to Caraxes is dark red. During a day battle, he's going to stand out in the sky.
Oh, okay.
Seasmoke is, a lighter. He's kind of gray.
He's smaller. He's not as long body.
Maybe he was easier to sneak in rather than big ass bloodworm there. But either way, right? Daemon emerges victorious, and just like his niece, ends the episode with that beautiful white hair soaked in blood.
A nice parallel there.
And again, this show is taking place after a long period of peace.
Right.
So like most of these characters, right? That's why Kristen Cole gets his promotion, right? Because he's one of the few people in this entire show that has seen battle. And now Rhaenyra and Daemon have seen their own version of battle, have come out of it hardened, maybe more confident, maybe ready to attack the rest of this season.
That's right. And we're very excited to attack the rest of this episode. But first, be sure to check out newrockstarsmerch.com, where you can grab our latest Obsession shirt, Ashen Ruin. inspired by all the fire and blood action on House of the Dragon. Now, this is a limited edition shirt, and it will be gone faster than Viserys' digits.
Ayo.
So be sure to grab yours today at newrockstarsmerch.com. And when you grab this latest Obsession shirt, you unlock the opportunity to get a custom shout out that will appear right here on Talking Dragons. And we might even read them live on the air, just like these. Jessica Lee Jones Daniel is the true heir to the throne. Suck it! Can we say suck it? Suck it!
We can say suck it.
That's from Danny D.
Nice one, Danny
and
D.
Darth Draconis? Yeah, Darth Draconis is on the rise, baby. And that's from Sean G.
Nice.
So yeah, be sure to check out newrockstarsmerch.com and grab that shirt.
And you know what? The latest Obsession shirts, as Brandon said, they're always limited edition. I'm actually wearing the limited edition latest Obsession shirt from The Batman. And they release cool ones all the time. There's a great one out right now also for She-Hulk. There'll be a cool one coming out soon for Andor. We also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Secret Lab. They make fancy, funky gaming and desk office chairs.
Very nice quality,
yes.
comfortable chairs.
And they did us a solid. I don't know if we have, do we have the camera angle to be able to show this? We might need to pull it onto camera. But they sent us some really cool House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones gaming chairs. And like, they not only have the kind of cool fun, you get your Stark emblem or your Lannister emblem or your Game of Thrones symbol on it, but like great detail. We were pointing out like the House of the Dragon one has this kind of like dragon scale pattern on it.
Beautiful different types of fabrics, like the little dragon scale patterns, little dragons hidden on it. It's very cool.
And you can get one and just check out their entire line over at secretlab.co/Game of Thrones. Again, that's secretlab.co/Game of Thrones. Thank you to Secret Lab for sending us those cool chairs.
So as we were saying, like we were all surprised to see another dragon take to the skies this episode, along with Laenor Velaryon on his back, confirming that this son of Rhaenys and Corlys Velaryon is a dragon rider. But did it really take 3 years of fighting to come up with this like great plan that would end it immediately? It all leads us to our big question this week: who is Seasmoke, and why wasn't he used sooner? It is very interesting. I assumed like that because there's been kind of 3 years going on, we just haven't seen them they've been using Seasmoke, because this clearly wasn't Laenor's like first dragon ride. I mean, he's been on a dragon before. He knew what he was doing. So I took it to be that like it took them 3 years to kind of get the Triarchy cornered on this one little island, which I believe they called Bloodstone, and that's where they're holding siege, right? They're kind of blockaded, they're surrounded, they're stuck in there, but they can't kill off all these people. As we saw at the beginning of the episode, right? The dragon can come down and then blow a little fire into the cave, but it's not doing much, and he's just open season for whoever's on the dragon's back down there. I did love that guy. The guy
Save me, Prince!
Like, my prince is here to save me! And then getting the squish. Maybe one of the funniest moments in all of the Game of Thrones to date, but very, very good.
Well, and one thing I think is hinted at in this sequence, right, is maybe Seasmoke and Laenor was being held back by clearly Daemon was running the show.
Yeah.
Daemon on Caraxes, right? And so really it, again, took him to the brink of failure before he realized his strategy of just going in there guns a-blazing on his dragon was not working. He had to be humbled. He had to literally humble himself down to ground level, right? With just one man, one plan, and a sword, right? And it was only then, right, that Seasmoke and Laenor were able to be truly helpful, not as dragon number 2, but really as the lead dragon with your distant cousin down there on the ground.
Yeah.
I like that. And you had pointed out, because Laenor's older in the books,
yes,
right? He would have been more experienced. Maybe they would have shown him more actively involved in the battle up until that point. But because we're assuming maybe this also is kind of his first big move. Maybe he'd been participating, but they weren't as confident in both this pretty young kid.
Yeah, he's a younger guy in the show.
And it's a young dragon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Seasmoke is Laenor's dragon. He was bonded with it as a baby. Like, you know how they talk about they want to put the egg with the kid. So that's his dragon. In the books, he's a little older. He was involved in like the Great Council and all that stuff. But for the purposes of the show, he's younger. I think it's smart because he's clearly like an option for Rhaenyra.
Yes.
You know,
a more age
make
appropriate.
A lot of sense.
Yeah.
And as Lord Strong loves to point out, to Viserys, like, I keep telling you, you need to join forces with House Velaryon because, like, you two together, these two houses tied together through marriage would be so incredibly powerful. It would put to bed a lot of the gulf
strife
between you. Yeah, because Lord Corlys, the Sea Snake, he's no longer the master of ships, right? In the last episode, he basically was like, I quit. And that's why there's a Lannister now who's like the head of ships, who was the twin of Jason, who was like basically being like, we need to go deal with the Stepstones. And Viserys is like, I don't give a crap about the Stepstones. I don't care. It's my brother acting a fool. So yeah, it was cool to see this like plan come and like work. But yeah, it does kind of feel like they were slow playing it for the purposes of the story. You know, we don't see much of it. Now in the books, again, this is just like a page in the book, right? It's basically like, it just mentions offhandedly that Daemon kills the crab feeder, cuts off his head with Dark Sister. I love that they go for cuts off his half of his body, almost making him look like a crab, which I loved, like all the little things.
Just torso and arms?
Just torso, arms, and guts, baby. Kind of cracked him open like a soft shell. But I did really like seeing that. I think you got to know, too, when Daemon's on your island and he's waving the white flag, be suspicious. But also when he's like, here, I'm going to give you Dark Sister. Like, please,
no, dude.
do not get close to the guy.
No, nobody's giving up Valyrian steel.
No
okay?
way.
Especially not to some diseased goon.
Yeah, he's never giving it up. That's a very important sword to the Targaryens. But did you like this plan? Do you think it was a good way to end the war?
I think I did like it. Both it made for a beautiful action set piece, but also it was a great character developer for Daemon's character, right? Like, he's been labeled the most dangerous man in the realm, right? We've heard people say that, but that danger is kind of implied to be like, because he makes bad decisions and he's a little kooky or whatever, right? But now we see like, no, he's also like the most dangerous in that like he wins battles, right? This is the first time, really, in this whole season, we've seen somebody out there chopping heads, right? Like, just doing some Jon Snow, Jaime Lannister level sword play, one-man army kind of stuff. And that was really cool, right? A lot of this battle harkened back to Battle of the Bastards, right? Where, for very different reasons, Jon Snow, like, rushes into battle by himself. That was unplanned, and clearly this was planned. I also think, like, somebody here is a good strategist. I think we're left to assume it's Daemon, right? But, like, this was clearly a good strategy. Now, one could argue, why did it take him 3 years to come up with this? But
again, I think it's like you need to get the Triarchy to this point where they've been winnowed down. Yeah. They're stuck on this one island because presumably before they were just kind of all over the place, picking off wherever they needed to. But you got them trapped, you got them cornered, you got them to a point where you can finally finish them off in one fell swoop. I love your point about like who's the good strategist here. It was Laenor who pointed out that like, hey, we need Daemon to do this. Like,
good point.
He's crazy enough to do it. But it also felt that like, you know, this was like, Viserys says this is Corlys and Daemon's war, but it really felt like Corlys' war, right? Everyone at the plotting table, it's all the Valyrians. They're the ones kind of running this, and it feels like Daemon probably doesn't care. Like, we know he didn't want to be a part of the small council. He just wanted to run his little city watch. So I don't think he liked going to the planning meetings.
No,
I think he just liked showing up, killing off a few pirates, and then.
But he wants to be king, right? He's said that out loud. He wants to be named heir, and he saw this as a vehicle to establish that claim, right?
And they certainly tease that next week. This is going to give him great renown. And show that he is a powerful ruler.
Yes, King of the Narrow Sea, he says in the teaser for next episode. Right. We want to quickly shout out a couple folks that helped us bring this episode to you, like our friends Mint Mobile. When it comes to ruling, there is always a catch. Maybe you might have to marry your infant sibling.
Maybe.
Gross. Maybe being the king is actually killing you slowly by infecting your flesh. Awful. That same is true for wireless phone service, okay? There's always a catch. There's always a catch. But thankfully, Mint Mobile is out there offering premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. And the best part? No catch. No catch! Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. Many folks here at New Rockstars have switched to Mint Mobile, including a few of our editors, Philip Molina. They all really like it. They were able to keep their phones, their numbers, their contacts, and they just straight up save a bunch of money. They get good service everything like that. They've loved ever since they made the switch. And so for anyone out there who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate, whether you're buying for one or a family. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/bigq. That's mintmobile.com/bigq. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/bigq. Thank you to Mint Mobile.
Well, Zach, now that the crab feeder is dead, we don't have to worry about the Triarchy threatening the Stepstones any longer. But one thing we do still have to worry about is cybercrime.
Ooh.
Thankfully, Avast is a global leader in cyber protection for more than 30 years and trusted by over 435 million users and prevents over 1.5 billion with a B attacks every month.
Wow.
Avast's new all-in-one solution, Avast One, helps you take control of your safety and privacy online through a range of features. Avast One is their best protection yet, giving you everything you need to take control of your safety and privacy online and accessible through a single, easy-to-use interface. Avast's multitude of features provide you with privacy and security as you scour the web and even help with your machine's performance. I personally like their award-winning antivirus that stops viruses and malware from harming my devices, as well as their data breach monitoring that will alert you if your online accounts have been compromised. That's always great to know because the companies don't always tell you. They even have PC Speed Up, which optimizes the background activity of your apps in order to speed up your PC. Thanks to Avast One for supporting Big Question. Confidently take control of your online world with Avast One. It helps you stay safe from viruses, phishing attacks, ransomware, hacking attempts, and all other cybercrimes. Learn more about Avast One at avast.com. Again, check out Avast One at avast.com.
All right, we were also wondering, right? Like, it is, I don't know that anybody ever directly says it in the episode, but it is heavily implied by his look that the crab feeder has grayscale.
Yes, and if you ever watch after the episode, they have like the creators talk about the show a little bit. They did confirm that it was grayscale.
Yeah.
It definitely is grayscale. You could see it on the side of his face. If you remember from Game of Thrones, this is like something that what's his face's daughter
Stannis Baratheon has it.
It's a disease. There's like famously the stone men of Valeria, right?
Yeah.
That all have it, and it's basically like a kind of a leprosy, right?
Yes.
But it's transferred by touch and blood, and you know Daemon Targaryen was clearly covered in the crab feeder's blood, chopped him in half. Maybe he didn't know about the grayscale. I don't know, but do you think he's at risk of getting grayscale now? Because this was something that was different from the books. It's not said in the books that the crab feeder had grayscale. So this is kind of a new element they've added in. Again, the books are, especially Fire and Blood, it's kind of like an unreliable narrator. A lot of times you get a Rashomon style like account of what happened from different perspectives, and little details are different. This show, you know, it's done with George R.R. Martin, and it's kind of filling in the holes and saying like, yes, this did happen and it fits with the book. So do you think this grayscale thing is gonna come up at all?
I say no, and here's why. I think they gave him grayscale because in universe, grayscale is a great way to make a character very ugly.
Yeah.
Right?
Make
It
him
is a
look like a bad guy.
deforming, nasty skin disease, right? And they wanted it for the contrast between Daemon and the crab feeder. Daemon is a handsome gentleman, right? Matt Smith got that jawline, that silky white hair, that nice porcelain complexion. The crab feeder, no hair, just a couple nasty wisps coming out the back of that harpy
some
mask.
glaucoma issues, maybe?
Yes, there's some weird eye stuff going on. Obviously, his skin is raggedy. And I think they wanted to contrast that because by the end, guess who's looking a little bit more like the crab feeder?
Oh.
Daemon, right? He has to
blood.
get down and dirty to defeat this enemy. And I think that was the metaphor they were looking for, right? Beauty he literally has to come off his high horse, the horse in this case being a dragon, in order to defeat this nasty, grubby, crustacean level enemy, right? I think that's what they wanted out of the grayscale more so than like the threat of contagion.
Yeah, we also have to remember that the Targaryens have powers in a weird way. Most notably, like their resistance to heat and fire.
Yes.
You know, obviously in Game of Thrones, Daenerys sits in a fire and like is unburnt. She's the unburnt.
Multiple times.
Ever heard of it? But also in the very first episode, if you remember Viserys, when he was down in the catacombs and looking at Balearion's skull, the skull of that dragon, he was holding his hand over the flames, if you remember that. Kind of being like, I am a Targaryen, I'm resistant to fire, like that's my thing. So I think that whatever this weird kind of resistance the Targaryens have to fire and some diseases, I think it's gonna keep them safe.
It's also heavily implied in Game of Thrones that dragon scale comes from Valyria, right? Like that's where the Stone Man are, right? Like there's some connection possibly to dragons, right? So maybe as also descendants of Valyria, the Targaryens have some kind of built-in immunity, right?
Okay,
maybe.
And it would make sense that the crab feeder would catch it because he's sailing around. Maybe he was sailing around Valyria looking for artifacts. Maybe that's where he got his little harpy mask.
Oh, yeah. Good point. My theory is that that's flotsam and jetsam, which those are things that wash up on shore, right? He's a man of the beach. He's just picking up random items. My thoughts.
I mean, the crab feeder definitely at his house has like one of those driftwood coffee tables.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, he's got like the buoys just hanging as decoration.
Like
it's
like net up in the corner.
Like it's a Joe's Crab Shack location.
Is he like stapling gold coins to the wall?
Yeah, maybe like dollar. You can sign your name on a dollar bill and put that up on the Crab Shack's cave.
Dude.
Yeah,
I'm gonna miss the crab feeder. Another question I had about this episode: what do we make of Rhaenyra and Daemon's respective baptisms by blood? You know, we've kind of mentioned this. What do we think? Like they're really trying to show us here?
I think I kind of sold it out earlier, right? This is both of these characters. This is their claim to the throne, right? Hey, I've done some stuff. I'm a person of action. The current king, not a person of action, right? He needs that buck held down for him, and even then he can't deliver the killing blow.
Yeah.
Both
He's
these
hungover.
get it.
The gods are punishing him for his indulgence.
He can't deliver that killing blow. Both of these characters can and do.
Yeah. Rhaenyra delivers several killing
blows. We can only assume Crab Feeder got taken out in one whack.
There's a great kind of moment too. As she's walking back into the camp covered in this blood, a few of the men like look over and they give her the old like, "Hey, good job.
Yeah.
Way to get dirty."
Or maybe it's even a little bit of like, "You've never been hotter to me."
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love a little boar's blood on my ladies. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think you're right, Zach. That this is them both showing like I deserve it. I've earned it. I've gone through my bloody ordeal.
And maybe even convincing themselves a little bit, right? Not just the other people around, but like, yeah, I now believe I can do it. I've overcome this seemingly insurmountable thing, and like now I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Zach, this is Talking Dragons, which is a fantasy after show. So let's talk about the other big fantasy show on the docket right now. Let's do a little talking Tolkien.
Yes, we're doing a little Rings of Power.
Let's talk a little bit about Rings of Power.
Now, real quick, we're not going to be able to go into a ton of depth, right? No. They dropped 2 episodes on us. 3 hours of content is too much for us to get into in about 45 minutes or an hour of this content. But we are just going to do kind of a quick run through of some things we like, some things we're looking forward to on Rings of Power. I wanted to say real quick, before you get into a plot synopsis, I think one cool thing, and what a nice time it is to be alive for fans of fantasy, right? In that it would be easy to lump these 2 shows together because they're coming out at about the same time, big, expensive productions, right? But I love that there are also some significant differences between these 2 shows. They are approaching their content in very different ways. They're giving us different stuff. I think it's really cool. I don't think you have to be a fan of one or the other.
No,
for me,
very different shows.
I'm enjoying both for completely different reasons, right? I thought of this metaphor. You let me know if this works for you.
Give it to me.
It's a little bit like a John Wayne Western versus a Clint Eastwood Western, okay? I think the Rings of Power is the John Wayne. That is the archetype that is good versus evil.
Yes,
it is
very,
like pretty
very clearly defined.
Yeah, white hat, black hat. Game of Thrones is the anti-Western. That's Clint Eastwood. That's Pale Rider, Outlaw Josie Wales, High Plains Drifter, right? That is taking the archetype that was established by Tolkien in the 40s or whatever, right? And breaking it apart, swerving, right? Breaking your expectations. And so I think it's cool. You can enjoy both of those things. Yeah. I think that's what we're getting right now.
So let's give a little quick synopsis of what's going on in Rings of Power. We're in the Second Age of Middle-earth. The elves have driven the evil forces of Morgoth away, and they think they've gotten rid of Sauron, but Galadriel knows otherwise. The elves have built quite an infrastructure on Middle-earth. They've got buildings everywhere, towers, police forces. But it seems like neither the men nor the dwarves want them there. Everyone wants them out. Get out of here, you knife ears. And running around beneath all of them are the Harfoots, including Nori Brandyfoot, who has found a big man who fell from the sky. I'm saying man. We don't know what he is.
Quote, unquote, giant?
They call him a giant. He could be bigger than a normal man. We haven't had a normal man near.
There's some wizard-like properties.
He's got a beard. I don't know. There are some mystical artifacts that are making their ways into different characters' possessions, including a very Pulp Fiction-esque what's in the briefcase moment with the dwarves.
Magical sword hilt?
Maybe. And beneath all of this, the orcs are tunneling around, stealing people from their homes, which I think is adorable. It's all setting the stage for another Middle-earth shattering battle. So you had this idea, Zach, and I really like this. Let's do a quick either-or between the two shows through their opening episodes, where we're at right now.
And these are just like a couple categories, because again, I like that these shows are approaching
very different shows.
Very different, right? Like the more magical show. Well, that's clearly Rings of Power.
Yeah, Rings of Power's got the magic right now.
Game of Thrones, and this, all of the Game of Thrones franchise, other than the occasional zombie mountain or something like that, a little wildfire here or there, it's just dragons are the magic, right? Maybe a smoke monster, whatever, but like for the most part, Game of Thrones is set in a realistic universe.
Well, and Game of Thrones, the magic in Game of Thrones works some of the time, doesn't work other moments of time.
Yes.
It's more of like, we'll try this out.
Yeah.
We'll see if this works.
Whereas in Rings of Power, right, we're getting...
There's proof of concept.
Yes, we're getting crazy elf fight sequences where they're dancing on the ends of blades, right?
You got a guy from the sky who's talking to fireflies.
Yes.
Like, there's some real magic going on.
There's some real magic. Now, on the other end, sexier show.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now this is open to interpretation.
This is definitely open to interpretation.
So far, only one has given us nudity.
Right.
Though the man from the sky, the stranger, was almost nude.
Yeah, he had a cod piece.
There was a loincloth of some kind. But we've seen, I believe, 2 Daemon Targaryen cheeks.
We've seen both cheeks of Daemon Targaryen.
That's twice as many cheeks as Rings of Power have given us.
A lot of the nudity on Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon involves what we will call pillow houses, which I think is the cutest term to give the concept of
a brothel,
of human trafficking.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know how sexy that is to some people.
Yeah, and I will say, like,
though Daemon did take one of the women with him. He took his lady to Dragonstone and pretended to say he was going to marry her.
There's been literal sex on House of the Dragon. No actual sex, though there was a little. I did love the Harfoots looking down on the stranger in his crater and being like, hubba hubba. There was definitely a little hubba hubba action there.
There's also maybe some implied stuff going on.
Yes,
in
between Bronwyn and Arondir, right? Like definitely some smoldering elf on human action there.
Well, and is Theo her son?
Yes.
He does look a little like Arondir. I don't know. I kind of like.
Well, and there's a missing dad.
Missing dad.
Right, which is a little Chekhov's missing dad, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be important somehow. Especially, it looks like Theo's going to play a really big part going on.
I do love too how like the elves are all like sexy.
Yes.
They're all beautiful, and like that's one of their things where it's like if you're pretty, you're an elf.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
They gotta be suspicious.
Much like the Targaryens, no bald elves.
No
acne scarred elves.
They get to live forever with all their hair.
Though damn, the humans of the Southland, ragged.
Rough life down there.
No, besides homegirl Bronwyn, not a lot of attractive humans on this show. Okay, it's a lot of dudes chopping the heads off of fish with freaking mangled old faces and gray hair.
What are you talking to them knifeies? What's so good about them? I don't know. Maybe they take a bath. Jeez, Southland, get it together.
Now this is a good one. Okay. Better food show. Now this was a very food forward House of the Dragon episode. We got some shots of the big feast.
Yeah.
Though they weren't always shown in the most appetizing light. We cut directly from crab feeder to a giant, spit roasted pig or something like that. Not super appetizing, and we mostly get, King slamming wine there, as opposed to Rings of Power. Boy, those Harfoots love them some berries, don't they?
The berries look good.
And the little escargot.
The raw snails, I don't know about
Not
the
so
raw
much.
snail. I love an escargot. Cook my snail, please.
Oh, also we get black milk coming out of the cow. Okay.
That was disturbing.
Maybe neither show right now is really winning in the better food show. Now, here's a category.
I think House of Dragons is winning in better food so far.
Okay.
But I think Rings of Power is going to sneak in there.
Certainly,
real fast.
the sommelier on House of the Dragon is doing some work.
Yeah.
We're getting honey
Jason
wine.
Lannister was able to like snap his fingers to get some wine.
Hell yeah.
It was great. They had pigs in a rotating spit. This is technology at work.
Now, this is probably a question we should say. Jessica knows a lot more about this topic than either of us. But better wigs, okay?
Ooh.
Now, I will say, both shows leaning heavily on wigs. All those
Right.
Targaryens are wearing
Yeah, a
some
lot of
fancy white
wigs.
wigs. Almost every character, it seems like, except for the elves, and that's been controversial online. A lot of people pissed that some of the elves have short hair. Whatever.
What are you going to do?
Hey, long hairs can be impractical. Ask
I
Brandon.
mean, you can get mad about it, but just remember, it's all made up.
That's
all
right.
made up nonsense.
That's right. That's right. If you're getting mad, you're the fool. There's a great.
You're the mummer's farce
Yeah.
if you're getting mad at
There's a great phrase in improv comedy where if you're the only one in the room not having fun, you're the asshole. So I will just say, if you hate one of these shows, quit watching it. Watch the other show.
Ooh, Zach coming hard on
That's what I'm saying.
Dragons.
You don't have to consume all content, okay? You don't have to love it. It's not made for you. Okay, sorry.
So what I'll say is better. I think the wigs on House of the Dragon are better.
Okay.
With the asterisk that the beard work on those dwarves
Those dwarves.
was so good. The braided beard tucked in.
Rich.
I love that the helmet's got a beard guard.
Yes.
I mean, the beard work really saved the episode.
That dwarf sequence, I mean, yeah, great beard work, great costuming on this series. Same costumer that worked on the Jackson films.
Though, as behind the scenes Dashiell pointed out, we want full beards on those dwarf ladies. Come on.
I know. They
Give
stopped
them full beards.
The princess there, the dwarven princess, just kind of had some like mutton
Give them
chop
full beards,
action going
you
on.
cowards.
Not full beard.
Give the ladies full beards.
And then finally, right, it so far, both these series seem to have interesting themes kind of as they relate to modern society. Even though neither of these series are set on Earth in a world that we recognize, right? They, of course, reflect back the world we know in 2022. House of the Dragon, very upfront about, right, investigating, tackling, whatever, misogyny, right? Like this kingdom doesn't want to see a woman on the throne. What's it like for a woman in this world versus a man, yada, yada. Whereas Rings of Power is playing with a lot, in all of Tolkien's work, is playing with race a lot. Now, this is specifically like different races of creature.
Like species, specifically.
Right? Elves versus dwarves versus men versus orcs, whatever. But like, you can't help but see the metaphor there, right? And certainly with Arendir is played by a non-white person, right? Which even makes it more in contrast when there's a non-white elf interacting with humans, right? And I think like, which of those for you is kind of tackling that theme or investigating that like more effectively so far?
I really think I like House of the Dragons, what they're kind of taking it, what they're kind of showing us with the idea of like the patriarchy and what's going to change. I also love the idea that, you know, you have the men of science, like the maesters, right? They're still just trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
Like everything's changing and always evolving. But it does feel like a lot of what we've already heard on Game of Thrones, which almost is a great mirror, and that like in the 200 years, not much is going to change in Westeros.
Yep.
Much like, in our world, like the Middle Ages, not much changed from the beginning to the end of the Middle Ages.
Right.
It took getting to Enlightenment to really push us forward and get us there.
I mean, not to step on our power rankings, which is coming next. We know some things are changing. Those Velaryons, not looking good for you in the next couple hundred years,
good.
my dudes.
There's not a lot of you in Game of Thrones. That's all I got to say.
Yes.
Look out, guys.
Yeah.
But I do like what Rings of Power is kind of showing the idea of, if you let these divisions of species or race divide you, you're missing the bigger problem, right? If you're so focused on these things, like that's what I don't understand with all these people who want the elves to leave. It's like the elves came in and cleaned up shop. They drove out the evil. You guys should be happy that they're here, trying to keep the peace.
I think, but our differences naturally separate us, and that's why it's a bigger deal when there's a fellowship.
Yeah.
Right? When the species have to come together, it means more if we're not chilling, hanging out all the time.
Because no one trusts each other.
No.
Like the dwarves don't trust the elves don't trust anybody. The people don't trust the elves. It's all about mistrust, and they're going to let this evil kind of grow right beneath them, literally right beneath them, because they're too busy fighting each other.
Yep.
So let's do our power rankings Do we want to do them for both shows? You want to pull
yeah, real quick. Real quick.
Okay.
I'll say big winners, obviously.
Who's up this week in our power rankings?
Obviously, Daemon Targaryen.
Big win for Daemon.
Big win for Daemon. Gets that kill. Our first baddie of the series is Dunzo. We were speculating, do they need a new outside threat, right? Because like this show is so insular. It's these same like characters in court kind of like backstabbing each other. Maybe we need some more outside threats to worry about. Who knows?
I like that.
But Daemon, big win for Daemon. I think a big win for Rhaenyra this week.
Yeah, she kind of showed everyone, all the bannermen, right, were at this like hunt, and I think her kind of showing back up, covered in blood, got a big boar, just on my own, just with my buddy Kristen Cole here. I think that was a big win for her, definitely. I also think Corlys Velaryon is way up this week on the back of Daemon.
Yeah.
His little like wager, him walking away as master of ships and joining forces with Daemon, I think it paid off well for him.
And by proxy, his son, right? Laenor kind of making his first appearance on the power charge this week, and certainly that only benefits his father, right? When his son is a bigger player and is doing some dragon riding out there. Yeah. Now, who's down? Just let's keep with House of the Dragon.
Yeah, who's down on House of the Dragon?
Crab Feeder. Warn you until we join
Crab
you.
Feeder's down for good.
Down.
My guy's down bad.
Viserys definitely down.
Viserys is definitely down.
We
He's
were
falling apart at the
speculating
seams.
what body part's going to be gone next episode on Viserys.
I want to see him lose like a nose or something, like just like something he can't hide anymore. Because right now he can hide everything. I think the next thing he loses is going to be harder to hide.
Yeah,
harder to hide.
Good point.
A
Maybe
missing
he's
nose or
like
an ear goes away.
Yeah, maybe he's like chair bound, bed bound
Yeah.
at some point, right? Not looking good for him and his degradation there.
Also, when him and Alicent are getting
Busy.
carnal,
Yeah.
do you think she's like, don't touch me with the?
Keep the gloves on.
Keep
the gloves on, my
king.
king.
My king, please keep the gloves
Also,
on.
don't ever show your back to me. What must be the state of his back wound?
Oh, his back must be looking awful. His back must be looking awful. I'll also say the Lannisters went down a notch
Not
this
looking
week.
good.
Their
They showed up
introduction
and
then
immediately
they dropped down. Didn't look good. Not a good look for the Lannisters. The nouveau riche.
A secret might be on the up and up. The Strongs. Okay,
Ooh.
we got Badfoot Strong there.
Yeah.
Right, the one son who's showing up, just eating his cookie, listening. There's something going on there.
The
right?
other sons were there. Like
Yes.
one of his sons is Bonebreaker.
Yes, he's got an awesome name.
Yeah.
The Strongs slowly getting in there,
They're
doing a
working
little
up,
more work.
and the high towers are always rising too.
Yes.
They're slowly working their way back up.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about Rings of Power. Who do you think gained the most power in Rings of Power?
I mean, just by proxy to the big wizard MacGuffin of the series, those Harfoots. Little Poppy and Nori.
They've got a secret weapon. Is what
You know,
you're saying.
these were like literally woodland creatures up until this point who hid from everybody else.
Yeah.
Zero
They're
interaction with the
hiding creatures.
Yeah, no interaction with the outside world. And now, who might be like the hugest game changer on the series is interlinked with the Harfoot. So I think they're a big gainer.
I would say like the dwarves are really up this week. They have this secret MacGuffin, and I think it showed they have a lot of power. And also, they show up. The elves show up, and they're like, "Oh, you've done a lot in like 20 years."
Yeah.
So they're clearly on the rise, big time.
Yes.
And I think they really showed that they're up. They got an upper hand.
Real quick, we forgot to mention this earlier. Do you think Elrond legit lost that rock breaking contest, or
was
did he
interesting.
do it to help the prince save face?
I think he did to help the prince save face. I think he was ready to keep going, and he was like, "This tactic's not going to work for me. I can't beat him and then be in his good graces.
Right.
I've got to lose. I got to lay it down."
Yes. Got to help his buddy Durin save
and
some
put it there.
face. Yeah.
Who's down this week in the Rings of Power rankings?
Humans.
Humans are way
Humans
down.
are doing awful.
Yeah.
It's kind of a recurring theme in Tolkien's work. They're the least likable characters often, the most
yeah.
the most susceptible to corruption by evil, right?
Right.
Also, I don't trust that gem maker. He's got that great name.
Selim Brimbor?
Yes, I mean, he's a little too obsessed with making something of beauty, and even drops his line, to make something great needs sacrifice. Who you sacrificing, my man?
Yeah. Also, like, you got to get this thing done by the spring. You couldn't have planned better. Not a good planner.
No.
Not a good planner.
I know he's destined for some important stuff in the series, but I'm worried.
Yeah, I am worried too. But I can't wait to find out more on both of these shows. That's it for this episode of Big Question Presents Talking Dragons. Be sure to check us out each and every week here on New Rockstars, spitting fire with these Targaryens, and sharing snails with the Harfoots each and every week. Don't forget to check out our many great merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me at Grin and Barrick. Follow Zach at Z Huddleston.
Don't follow me.
Do it. Follow
don't. It's not worth it. I don't post. But you can follow New Rockstars at New Rockstars on both Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to Big Question wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. And don't forget to check out newrockstarsmerch.com where you can get the latest Obsession, Game of Thrones shirt and upcoming Andor shirts. There's also some great She-Hulk merch options on there. Check
and some
that out.
Rings of Power merch?
Rings of Power merch, I think.
Maybe.
Newrockstarsmerch.com. Thank you for watching. Jessica will be back next week. Also, keep an eye out if you're watching this right when it drops. Eric's breakdown of the episode of House of the Dragon will be coming out soon, and he's doing a breakdown of the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power.
Right.
So keep an eye out for those. Keep an eye out for those.
Yes, keep an eye out for those, and remember, I'm sick of all this politicking. Goodbye.